I hate having this piece of shit as a title, right? And I'm not self-deprecating. This is my reality, right? If you look at all these articles, millions, I don't know, millions, but a lot of people, right? Headlines, it's permanent record, all saying that I'm a piece of shit. And they all have merit, and that's the thing. Because I was in a position of trust, and I violated it. So there's a shit stain on my ass that hasn't been wiped, and it's a forever stain. Yeah, it's a shit stain, and I can't do anything about it. And I'm not gonna beat myself up about it. So it's like, what do? You either fight. You either fight it or you don't. You know, you little show and tell, or you hide under a rock. I'm not gonna hide under a rock anymore by choice. I gave myself a year after I got released to shut the fuck up, right? Just to see what it's like out of prison and being quiet. And so now today, I'm gonna tell you what it's like to actually exist with stigma when it's your fault, okay? When you knew better and when you can't blame anyone else. So, you know, like in all videos, in my other videos, I'm gonna introduce myself properly. I'm jerryGolddd. I am your Stigma Sherpa, right? Because I've been told by many people that I am one of the biggest pieces of shit that you'll ever meet, right? And I hate that title, but I hate silence and isolation even more. I'm actually, addicted to being useful, and being a shitbird survivalist is how I survived prison 7 years as an ex-officer, right? And so now I make myself available to anyone who wants to explore that mountain of deserved hate, right? I sell insights, I sell convenience and time, but I'm not a coach. I'll never claim that I'm a coach, because a true coach is invested emotionally in your success. Tell you right now, I am not, right? But I'm gonna let you in on my public resume of failure. I'm a Marine reservist with an OTH discharge. I'm a shit can Santa Clara County Sheriff's deputy under Lori Smith. And in 2017, I was convicted of an on-duty murder, which was ultimately overturned in 2022. Then I pled guilty to a lesser voluntary manslaughter charge in 2024 to prevent a retrial in the name of cowardice and convenience, right? And then I was released from parole in late 2025, and here I am, right? And I make it a point to say that I am not a self-deprecator. I don't feel bad at all, okay? I'm not exposing myself as a defense mechanism, right, to shield myself from criticism, because the only thing I can control is what I put out, and that's the only thing that's worth it to me now, okay? And so, now that you heard that, right, let's define what stigma is, right? For me, a stigma isn't just, people who don't like you. Stigma is when society gives you a label that overrides everything else about you. That's it, right? And like I could cure cancer tomorrow, let's just say, and the headline would be, it would be like, ex-correctional officer who killed an inmate cures cancer, right? So this is like the master status of trash, you know. It's the one identity that eclipses others. And when it's your fault, okay, and like when you knew better, that stain hits different because because ignorance would be an excuse, and knowledge isn't, right? I was trained, I was educated, I was entrusted, and I still fucked up, right? That's not a mistake. That's something else. And I know that the past isn't erasable. And I'm not about to live my life, you know, with my history as my greatest own enemy. Nah. It's, I can only add to it, right? I can only add new chapters. I can't delete the old ones. Court documents, they're permanent. News archives, news articles, those are permanent. Google is forever. And you know, it's not pessimism. I'm just looking at the facts, the reported facts, right? So if you're waiting for a stain to wash out, you're gonna be waiting forever. And so, not everyone hates you the same way, right? And now that's the weird part, right? Because over the years, I've noticed like people fall into like three categories, distinct categories, when it comes to like how they judge stigma and people, right? And understanding these categories, that's how you stop getting blindsided, less stressed. Oh my God, my arm is hurting. So, in one category, you have people who knew you before the stigma hit.
Attention, all arriving active duty Army personnel, please.
Those people knew you before the stigma hit. And these are the people who have actual context. They know your history and they saw how you treated people. And you know, some of them will still fuck with you. Some won't, but that's their decision, because they have the information and they're not reacting to a headline and jumping to a conclusion, right? They're reacting to you. And then the other category of people is the people who didn't like you before the stigma hit. And these are the ones who love your downfall, which is fine, right? This is their Super Bowl. They finally have social permission to express what they already felt, and they get praise for it. Your stigma just gave them cover, and they're always gonna hate you. And then the other category are the strangers who only know you from the headlines. And these are the most interesting group of people because they're operating on pure inference. They've never met you, they've never heard your voice, and they have never seen how you think. But they know you're a piece of shit. Because the headlines told them, and you know, I can't even be mad at them because I used to be that guy. Like, these are the people who would DM you the most creative death threats you've ever seen, and they think they're being virtuous while doing it. And that's the wild part, because they genuinely believe hating you makes them a good person. And it's not personal, it's tribal. Hating people like me is how they signal to their tribe, I'm safe, and I'm one of the good ones. And that I can respect. I get it, because I used to do it too. So the first type of person I was telling you about before, like the people who knew you before, these are the trickiest ones because they have the most data, and they know you're not a cartoon villain, and they've seen you be kind, they've seen you be generous.
TSA has limited the items that may be carried through a screening checkpoint. Passengers should contact their air carrier for further information.
But they also know what you did. Yeah, these people have to reconcile those two things. Right? Some of them will choose to remember the person they knew, or some of them will decide the act defines you, and both are valid. And I don't argue with either. And what I appreciate about these people is that they made a choice, and they didn't default to hate because a headline told them to, and they actually considered it. And then the people who hate you, that category, it's simpler, because they already disliked you. Like, your stigma is just permission for them to go public with what they already felt privately. And I don't take this, type of person, I don't take it personally, because they were always going to hate me. And the stigma just gave them, a megaphone, because I was a bully at school. I accept that. I pissed off a lot of people because I was taught you either get bullied or bully. And so when my shit went public, that validated every person that I bullied. And you know what? They're right? Like, this is what I get, and I'm not gonna lose sleep over it though. Okay? And now that last category that I was talking about, like, this is where it gets really interesting, because these are the complete strangers who've constructed a whole identity based on the headlines, and they don't know you, but they know a story or stories about you, and you can't be mad at them. Like, how? Like, because I used to be one of them. I used to hate Casey Anthony. Then I realized, she's like the stigma queen. And I remember, like, fuck, how could that guy do that? And I had no context, no nuance, no, just outrage, right? And that was just completely normal human behavior. So then when someone in this, like, category of people, when they send me death threats or they come up to me on the street, I just take it. I can't do a damn thing. I just gotta take it. And then here's where stigma gets really complicated. Okay? Like, when do you tell people? I know when to tell you, right? But for, people dealing with stigma, it's like, how much do you tell? Or do you even have to? Or do you have to because, it's like the right thing to do? I don't want to be a fraud, right? Hiding feels like deception. And, that's what people with extreme shame do. The whole process sucks. It's like saying, hi, nice to meet you. By the way, thousands of people think I'm a piece of shit, just so you know. It's not a fun conversation. It's not a fun conversation starter. And where it gets ethically murky is when people say, just move on, and only your opinion matters. Like, when they say that to me, like a friend says that to me. But that's clean slate privilege talking. Like, when you have a clean slate and you start with 100% support, like 100, like a baseline of, like, people already assume you're trustworthy because you haven't been proven otherwise, right? And you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to disclose anything. But someone like me, I start at a negative or something, right? At negative 50%. Like I have to climb that mountain just to get to zero, just so I can ultimately get that 50% trust, if I'm lucky. So when you tell me or someone like me in that position, like only your opinion matters, I mean, that's easy when your opinion is the only one that exists in people's minds, right? When people have an opinion about you before they meet you, now your opinion becomes noise. Does that make sense? Oh shit. Yeah, that's when your opinion or your weight of opinion becomes noise, right? And I'm not saying your opinion doesn't matter to me. Let's just say if you have a nice one, because it does, even if it's a bad one, right? But pretending external opinions don't affect someone, you're coping, because that opinion, that external opinion, it controls job applications, housing, dating, friendships, everything, right? And I can't just ignore the haters. So I'm not going to pretend that stigma is all in my head. It's structural, it's real. But that's what I get. And you know what? I don't like it. I never liked it. I hate it when people talk shit. It stings. And I hate it when people call me a piece of shit, because I know in my head I'm not a piece of shit, but there are credible people that are more powerful, institutions that are powerful that say otherwise. So I say, fuck it. I'm going to lean into the controversy. And it's like, man, acceptance doesn't require liking. You can hate your situation and still function in it. And I accept this. And I think it sucks. But it's not toxic positivity, because I'm not pretending it's fine. I'm telling you, I don't like it. And when people ask me, how you doing, man? I just give them, I'm doing as good given the circumstances, or I'm good as I can be. Because in reality, I don't know anyone aside. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But there's a difference between clinical depression and situational dissatisfaction, right? I am dissatisfied. I am aware of the gap, but I'm not paralyzed. So like when I think like Casey Anthony, she survived national hate, especially from virtuous, moral high people. I don't know. It's pretty vicious, right? She got that, but I get it now. Here's something I learned in prison that I didn't expect, right? It's just a word that stuck with me. It's called habituation or something, right? So I was on the news constantly, front page, and everyone in prison saw it. Even on their cell phones, I got used to it. And when they would show me the articles, it was like accidental exposure therapy. And the first time, I remember when someone brought it up, it was devastating, and it put me in fight mode. But after like the 100th time, it's still uncomfortable. But it's not paralyzing. And that's what, I guess, I Googled it, the habituation, that's what it is. I did more research on that word. But yeah, your nervous system learns, like, okay, this sucks, but it won't kill me. It's not immunity, and it still hurts, but it doesn't shut me down. And that's the difference between surviving stigma and being destroyed by it, right? You can build tolerance. You build tolerance. It's not comfort. It's not comfortable. Tolerance. And I am conditioned for hate, and I don't like it. It sucks. But because I expect it, and it's the only reason that I can do this, and now that I am doing this, especially publicly, like if you're wondering, like, why the fuck would you choose to be visible with stigma? Why not just stay silent, shut the fuck up, and just disappear? But yeah, I'll tell you why. Because I basically spent 10 years silent because the shit kicked off in 2015. I pled the fifth, and I spent 10 years not explaining. 10 years of being, like, all the good stuff invisible, and just the bad stuff magnified, and I fucking hated it. Because invisibility is not safety. It's actually suffocation. And then, you know what happens when you're invisible? Nothing. No opportunities, no impact. It's just nothing, right? You implode, if anything. And after 10 years of that, I decided I'd rather test out what it's like being louder. And I've always liked existing and being seen, because it's more fun that way. And at least I can build something. And I'm not erasing myself to make other people comfortable. So yeah, people call me a piece of shit, and that's worth it to me more than safety. Don't get me wrong, I want to be safe, right? But here's the thing that keeps me functional. Having a mission. Because without a mission, stigma would crush me. And I know this because when you have nothing to build towards, the weight of the stain becomes unbearable. And when you have a purpose or an obligation, which is a glorious thing to have. I was married once. I was obligated to my wife. That was like the coolest thing. But yeah, every video I make is proof that I'm still useful to someone. Every book I write is proof that I can still contribute. And like I said, I am not reformed, not redeemed. I'm not a success story. None of that. I am just okay with being a cautionary tale for law enforcement, for anyone who's with stigma. And that makes me feel good. And I like it. Because I'm not selling a transformational fantasy. I'm gonna give you a tactical blueprint on how to survive. And it's from someone who's still going through the shit. And in fact, I'll forever go through it. But yeah, so like these tactical survival blueprints or whatever, right? The whole purpose, it's just to give you enough so you can survive long enough to figure out your mission. Because having a mission equals survival, and that's the formula. You can't rewrite history. The court documents, they exist. The articles, the Google's results exist. That's permanent, that's forever. But what you can do is append to your story, add to it, add new chapters, new actions, new contributions. The past doesn't get deleted. It defines you. That is you. Own that shit, right? It just gets pushed further back in the timeline. So the question isn't, how do I erase the stain? Because the only control you have is what you put out in this world. And that's not, I really believe that. Because you can't change what happened. You can only change what happens next. And over time, the ratio shifts. There's going to be more new material than old material. And the stain is still there, but it's not the only thing there. And that's how you survive stigma. You don't beat it. You don't overcome with it. Yeah, you don't overcome it. You don't transcend it. You just exist with it, and you build next to it forever. And so, yeah, this isn't for people with clean slates, because with clean slates, you could just read a simple book, get a platitude, and hear it like, oh, it only matters what, This is for people who are carrying stains that you can't wash out, like people who've just been told to just move on, and no, that's bullshit. So, there's people who are tired of those redemption narratives that, don't match their reality. Like, if that's you, that this is the right place. This is a safe place for unsafe people. Yeah.
Due to increased airport security, passengers.
Yeah, because I am in the business. Now I am. I'm in the business of trading your honest cash for my dirty insights. Like, there's a whole ecosystem designed for permanent shit stains. And if you're wondering if this content is for you, I mean, if you made it this far, it probably is. Welcome, friend.